The following BLTV program is brought to you by O'Flaherty Law. Please enjoy.
Welcome to Learn About Law. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and today we're going to explain some tips for how to avoid trust litigation when you're creating a trust. Let's first talk about why we want to avoid trust litigation. Litigation is a dispute in court between family members or the heirs or beneficiaries of a trust, or people who would expect to inherit if there was no trust in place. And it's usually it goes towards the validity of the trust. And people may argue that you weren't of sound mind when you executed the trust. People may argue that the trust was executed under duress or that the proper formalities weren't followed when executing the trust. But either way, it's a court battle, and it costs money. And that's money that your beneficiaries aren't going to be getting, but it also can really lead to rifts in the family and tear the family apart, which is the last thing most people want when creating a trust. Despite the grounds we talked about, there's three main underlying root causes for trust litigation, and most of our tips go to how to avoid these causes. One is that someone who expected to inherit is being surprised by the fact that they're not inheriting or inheriting less than they expected to inherit. Another cause is that the trust itself is ambiguous, that the language isn't clear, so people are arguing about what the trust says and what the creator's intentions were. A third cause of trust litigation is that the trustee is acting negligently or committing malfeasance or doing something to improperly execute the trust. So those are the things that tend to cause trust litigation. How do we avoid them? And there's a lot of things we can do at the outset when creating the trust to make sure that those are avoided. Obviously, working with a good attorney is fundamental to any of these things, but these are things that you can do in conjunction with your attorney. So first is to communicate with all potential heirs and beneficiaries what your wishes are before you pass away while you're still of sound mind. Now, this isn't just everybody that's named in the trust, but it's everybody that might expect to be inheriting that is going to be inheriting less than they would expect or might not be inheriting at all. If you communicate what your wishes are at the outset before you pass away, before you become mentally incompetent, then that prevents anyone who's not inheriting as much as they would expect from being blindsided, and that will head off litigation. It also creates witnesses that the trust reflects your wishes if litigation becomes necessary. So the second tip is to avoid ambiguity within the trust. Make sure that the language is clear. There shouldn't be any dispute over what the trust means or what your wishes were. Now, a big mistake here people make is assuming that even though they don't understand it, the trust was drafted by a lawyer, so it's in legalese, and some other lawyer will understand it. Legalese is never good in a trust. There's certain clauses of a trust that may be difficult to understand, but the parts that talk about what your wishes are and how you want your trust handled, you should be able to understand and read clearly. If you can't, then that might cause other people to not understand it and dispute what it means. So you want to make sure there's clarity within the trust to avoid disputes over what the language actually means. The third thing you can do is make sure that you select the right trustee. You'll have a chance to pick an initial trustee and then successor trustees, and all of these people should have a couple qualities. First, they should be intelligent enough to be able to understand your intentions and not make unforced errors when executing the trust. Second, they should be able to communicate well with the beneficiary, so they have to have some people skills. If something comes up like ambiguous language or some other dispute that isn't centered around the trustee, a good trustee can build a consensus among the beneficiaries of how to handle the dispute and avoid litigation. They can communicate and make sure that any of these disputes are headed off ahead of time. The most important thing probably is someone who's trustworthy. You want someone you can trust not only to not be negligent in the handling of the trust, but most importantly not to self-deal or commit malfeasance while handling the trust, because this will avoid someone suing over the trustee's actual execution of the trust. It's a shame to have a trust in place that is well written, would not normally cause any disputes between family members, but have the trustee then in the execution of the trust cause problems and cause litigation. So picking a good trustee is really important. Another thing you can do is tell your attorney about any potential conflicts that you can foresee ahead of time, so your attorney can work with you to head these off. So if someone's going to be disinherited and you can see them having a problem with that, let your attorney know. Your attorney probably, if they're any good, will anticipate this as well. And your attorney then can do things while you're still living, while you're still of sound mind, to back up the trust and make sure that any disputes are headed off ahead of time. Finally, if your family situation changes, make sure you keep your trust updated. One cause for dispute is if the family situation changes and the trust is outdated and doesn't reflect the new family situation. So anytime you have a big major change in your life, you should consult with your attorney to make sure that your trust reflects that change. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section below this post at learn-about-law.com or below the video on our YouTube station. We try to respond to questions within a couple days. Sometimes we get backed up and it takes about a week. If you found this helpful and you'd like to be informed of our daily article and video topics that we post, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud, and that helps us as well. If you need some help, give us a call at 630-324-6666. That's 630-324-6666. We can help you either draft a good trust or help you with trust litigation if, unfortunately, that becomes necessary. And we offer free consultations. We have offices all around Chicagoland for your convenience. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.